Chapter 1335. This time, I've really troubled you guys. In the guest room of Thousand Eyes, Byakuya shyly scratched his face as he thanked the members of No Name sitting around him. Although I made it sound so amazing before, in the end, I didn't help at all. As the leader of the hierarchy, I've failed in my duty. Hearing Byakuya's flippant tone, the members of No Name looked at each other and smiled. Looking closely, not only were Noah, 16 Knights Reverse, Jyo-Yufei, Haruhibuyaki, and Hito present, but even Letitia and Aster, who were dressed as maids, were present. Apart from Aster, who was silently nibbling on snacks, everyone's gazes were focused on Byakuya. Among them, 16 Knights said in a mocking tone. That's not something you can get away with by saying you failed in your duty. Byakuya, undoubtedly, before the game started, this bro reminded you that since the other side knew that you, the strongest leader of the hierarchy, were here, they must have prepared a method to deal with you. You must be careful, right? I can't refute that. Byakuya looked like he had eaten a durian. His face was full of confusion, but at the same time, he felt a bit emotional. However, since the Black Death Spot Demon King is the representative of the 80 million undead, then there's nothing I can do. The Black Death, which was widespread in the 14th century, took 80 million lives in a few hundred years. The reason why it broke out to such an extent was because the sun had entered a minimum activity period, causing the entire world to be invaded by cold, entering the Little Ice Age. In other words, the cause of the Black Death was the sun. Because of this, Pest said that she had to represent the 80 million undead and take revenge on the lazy sun. This wasn't just something she said. Instead, it was something that was realized through the rules of the game. In other words, as the star spirit of the sun, Byakuya, who controlled the movement of the sun, was sealed at the start of the game because of this reason. Because 80 million people had died in the Black Death, Pest, who had obtained the spirit core, turned the right to represent these vengeful spirits to take revenge against the sun into the rules of the game. She recreated the history of how the sun's power had once weakened during the Little Ice Age, causing the White Yiksha to be sealed. It was only because he understood this that White Yiksha could not blame Pest. Although it was not direct, White Yiksha could be said to have indirectly caused the tragedy of Pest and 80 million lives lost to the Black Death. Thinking of this, Bayasha sighed slightly, then pulled himself together and smiled at Noah and the others. No matter what, the reason why the game was solved this time was mostly due to No Name. According to our initial agreement, the Infernal King's ownership belongs to you, so please don't worry. Hearing this, everyone smiled in relief. Only Noah confirmed with Bayasha. In other words, according to the rules of the box court, we can still summon Pest back, right? That Infernal King was originally an undead spirit. It was just that Hamel's grimoire was used as a medium to summon her to the box court from the end of the era when the Black Death was prevalent. Bayasha gave a definite answer. So, according to the rules of the box court, the defeated Infernal King must belong to you. Relying on the power of the box court, it is not difficult to summon her back. Hearing this, Noah suddenly smiled. In that case, these things that I spent a lot of time collecting will be of use. After saying this, Noah waved his hand. Wave-like golden ripples undulated from the corner of the reception room, causing pieces of stained glass to float up. They overlapped and appeared in the room one after another. This is... Bayasha said in surprise. Hamel's grimoire. That's right, Noah nodded and said to Bayasha. I hope that you can use Hamel's grimoire as a medium to summon Pest back. Oh. Using Hamel's grimoire as a medium. Bayasha narrowed his eyes and looked at Noah with a smile that was not a smile. It seems that you are also unwilling to part with that Infernal King's aptitude. Noah shrugged and did not refute, tacitly agreeing. After all, Noah collected Hamel's grimoire because he was unwilling to part with Pest's great aptitude. As the representative of the astonishing achievement of 80 million deaths, Pest definitely had the aptitude to become a deity. However, apart from the strongest innate deities, if the other races wanted to become a deity, apart from obtaining outstanding achievements, they also needed a certain amount of faith. Faith was the foundation of becoming a deity. If one did not have faith, no matter how many achievements they collected, they would not be able to become a deity. Of course, there were many forms of faith. There were many examples of people being revered due to fear and becoming a deity. However, the Black Death was prevalent in the 14th century. At that time, the concentration of faith had already become somewhat thin. Furthermore, the reason for the Black Death's prevalence was because the sun had entered a period of minimal activity. Thus, no one would think that the Black Death's prevalence was based on myths and legends. For example, religious rumors and sayings such as the Black Death was the punishment of the heavens to mankind. This led to the disappearance of the connection between the Black Death's terror and religion, making it impossible for the Black Death to become a religion. Thus, even though Pest possessed the aptitude to become a deity, she was still unable to become a deity. Because of this, the infernal king who summoned Pest used the spotted death god in Hamel's grimoire as a medium to summon Pest as a deity. If the medium that could provide Pest with a suitable deity's position was lost, then even if Pest was summoned back, she would no longer be a deity. This way, the infernal king's strength would decrease substantially. From the peak of 5 digits, she would fall to the bottom of 5 digits. She might even fall to 6 digits. If that was the case, it would truly be a pity. What Noah coveted was the power of Pest, a demon king with a 5-digit number. Naturally, he did not wish to see Pest's strength decrease substantially. That was why Noah collected Hamel's grimoire. I hope that Thousand Eyes can slightly modify Hamel's grimoire and use it as a summoning medium for the Black Death Spot Demon King, Noah said to White Yiksha. After all, we are unable to summon demons from over 200 magic tomes like that Demon King. As such, we are unable to use Hamel's magic tomes. If you are willing to assist us in modifying Hamel's magic tomes and have it become Pest's summoning medium again, we are willing to pay you extra. After saying those words, Noah looked at Ren. Leader, is this all right? Of course, it's all right. Ren immediately reacted and nodded repeatedly. If Thousand Eyes is willing to modify Hamel's grimoire, we can pay you extra. Yes. Black Rabbit also nodded repeatedly. Being able to have a 5-digit deity join us is naturally more than what we wish for. That's how it is. The 3 problematic children, 16 Knights Reverse, Joyu and Osaka, and Hiroi Toshi, spoke at the same time. So, hurry up and do it for us. I say. Letitia could not help but speak up. Everyone, this is not the tone you use to ask for help. Forget it, forget it. I'm quite annoyed that I couldn't be of any use as a class controller in this game. Since that's the case, I should at least give you guys a suitable reward for your contributions. Otherwise, as class controllers, I'm really disqualified. White Yiksha laughed as he waved the paper fan in his hand. Don't worry, I have accepted your request. Treat it as an extra reward for all of you. I will not charge you extra. Just wait for a 5-digit deity to join us. Hearing that, everyone smiled in satisfaction. Chapter 1336. Just like that, the fire dragon birth ceremony, which had been interrupted by the Demon King's attack, resumed on the second day, causing the entire outer area of the realm wall to become as lively as it had been a few days ago. However, if someone paid attention, they would definitely be able to discover it. During the lively fire dragon's birth ceremony, 2 communities were constantly mentioned. One was Salamandra. Originally, as the organizer of the fire dragon birth ceremony, Salamandra had always been a hot topic before the Demon King's attack, but there were more negative rumors. The reason was naturally because as the new leader, one of the rulers of the North District, Shadora, was only 11 years old. They were worried that such a young ruler would not be able to protect the safety of the residents. This matter had always been a thorn in everyone's heart. Now, this thorn had finally been mostly erased. After witnessing Shadora's activity in the Demon King's bestowal game, although it could not be said that no one doubted Shadora's ability, the negative rumors had decreased by a lot. Many people also began to develop confidence in Shadora's ability. Thus, Shadora's reputation spread throughout the entire box in a short 2 to 3 days, making many people look at her in a new light. It was said that some of the rulers of the North District who had not cooperated before sent their blessings to Shadora, proving that Shadora had finally entered their sights. Of course, since things had developed to the point where White Yaksha, the ruler of the East District, had to participate in the ceremony, those rulers of the North District who had not cooperated before naturally would not participate in the fire dragon birth ceremony under such circumstances. They did not want to look too bad in front of the famous Shadora. As for the other community that had been frequently mentioned recently, it was naturally No Name. As the main force that had obtained a great victory in the Demon King's bestowal game, this fire dragon birth ceremony had finally made a name for No Name. It was not quite right to say that it made a name for No Name. This was because the reason No Name was called No Name, in other words, the reason No Name was because there was no community name. Since there was no name, it was difficult to even become famous. Thus, the community that people were talking about was the East District 2105380 Outer Sect, a nameless community whose mission is to defeat the Demon King. Even so, the reputation of No Name had indeed begun to spread. After all, in the outer sect of 2105380, there was only one No Name without a title. Not to mention, everyone already knew that in this nameless community, there were members who could defeat demon kings and divinity holders head-on. There were even nobles from the box court. This way, even if he didn't become famous, it wouldn't do. Black Rabbit, Ren, and Letitia were very happy about this. Not only did they obtain the reward of being a demon king who was a deity, but they also obtained the reputation they wanted. Even Faraway Bird had obtained a steel doll made of divine precious metal that could move forever. It was called Dion's new gift. Everyone could be said to have gained a lot. Under such circumstances, No Name's group returned to the outer gate of 2105380 on the first day of the Fire Dragon's birth ceremony. By the way, the elf with the pointed hat, who had an unbreakable bond with Ancient Flying Bird, had also come along. Because he didn't have a name, Ancient Flying Bird gave him the name Mir. And Mir was an elf with the attribute of the earth, a goblin. With this little elf who possesses the grace of the earth, in addition to Noah's tool to restore the vitality of the earth, the abandoned land and the No Name base should be able to recover in a short period of time, right? All in all, after this battle, No Name's development began to flourish. Of course, there were pros and cons. What? In the No Name headquarters chat room, with Noah as the leader, all the main members were looking at Ren and Hei too, who had a face full of helplessness. We've been banned from participating in the game. Yes. Banned from participating in the game. Just now, Black Rabbit and Ren brought such a piece of news that no one could ignore. To be exact, we should be banned from participating in some of the lower-level games, right? Ren laughed bitterly. According to what I said, that is, for a community that can even defeat a demon king to participate in the lowest-level 7-digit game, isn't that against the rules? Everyone was speechless for a moment. This was the downside of No Name becoming famous. After the battle with the demon king ended with a complete victory, No Name was stripped of the qualification to participate in the lower-level bestowment game. After all, in the box court, the bestowment game was either a test from the Azura gods and anyone could participate, or one had to pay the participation fee in exchange to participate in the games hosted by the community. At the lowest level of the 7-digit level, No Name, who was able to defeat a 5-digit demon king, had clearly surpassed this level. Since this was the case, Since they knew that they would lose miserably, naturally no one would allow the members of No Name to participate in their own game without any scruples and win the prize. What's the meaning of this? 16 knights cried out in dissatisfaction. Coming out to be the host, they actually have to worry about the prize being won and refuse to allow people to participate. Does such a cowardly host even exist? I really have to hand it to you. Ancient Flying Bird also had an expression of dissatisfaction. However, this is also good. I have no interest in a game hosted by such a cowardly host. Same here. Although Haruai Hiroyuki was expressionless, he still expressed his anger. Without the quality of a host, these people are not good enough. That's true, but other communities also need to live. Knowing that they will lose in a situation where they have to restrain themselves, that is understandable. Letitia magnanimously said this. Anyway, with the strength of Master Noah and all of you, you will definitely be able to welcome a bigger stage. I'm sure that in the near future, there will be a community that is famous and promising to send us an invitation to the game, right? Yes. Black Rabbit's long rabbit ears suddenly stood up, and he took out an invitation with a face full of smiles. Actually, the Southern District's Dragonhorn Griffin Lion sent us an invitation not long ago, inviting us to participate in the upcoming Harvest Festival. This sentence attracted the attention of everyone present. Dragonhorn Griffin Lion. Letitia's beautiful face couldn't help but reveal a faint smile. So that's how it is. After careful calculation, the day of their harvest festival has indeed arrived. Hearing this, Noah couldn't help but ask curiously. What? Is the community called Dragonhorn Griffin Lion very famous? Master, Dragonhorn Griffin Lion is not a community, but an alliance formed by 6 communities. Letitia explained. Their base is located in the outer gate of the Southern District, 7759175. That is an area famous for its rich resources, especially water resources, crops, and livestock. It is second to none among the 4 areas. Every year, there will be a variety of reward games with these rich resources as prizes for the Harvest Festival. Crops and livestock. Noah raised his eyebrows. Doesn't that mean this Harvest Festival is a great opportunity for us? Yes. Black Rabbit energetically replied. The Harvest Festival will be held in about half a month, and when we recover the land, we can win a lot of crops and livestock from this Harvest Festival. It really can't be better. Everyone's eyes lit up, and they all smiled. Indeed, it really couldn't be better. Noah also smiled without a trace. In that case, I don't need to spend so much effort. Chapter 1337. After the discussion about the Harvest Festival, everyone dispersed and went about their own business. Noah, on the other hand, returned to his room and began the long-awaited update of his ability value. Noah Doria LV. For Strength, SSS, 1757, SSS, 2000, Durability, SSS, 1758, SSS, 2000, Dexterity, SSS, 1755, SSS, 2000, Agility, SSS, 1760, SSS, 2000, Magic, SSS, 1743, SSS, 2000, Mystery, GF Magic, GF Swordsman, GF Magic Weapon Refining Steel Making Magic Duplicate, Refine, and Forge Weapons Duplicate, Refine, and Forge Weapons will be weakened to a certain extent according to the level, performance, and ability of the weapon. Duplicate, Refine, and Forge Weapons will be maintained for a long time according to the level, performance, and ability of the weapon. Protection of Sword Permanent Magic Permanent protection will be obtained according to the attributes of the contracted spirit. Contract Spirit as a Sword Spirit, obtain the protection of the Sword Spirit, and weaken physical attacks on oneself. The degree of weakening will increase or decrease according to the strength and ability of the target. Cold smelting quick attack magic make the target gradually turn into steel. Successful tempering will crush it. Tempering speed will be determined according to the strength and ability of the target. Skills protection from the world permanent skill equal to luck events that are directly related to luck will eventually lead to the most favorable result. When the data of the ability value update was fed back to Noah's mind, Noah suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes were filled with excitement. It's finally time to level up. Yes. It's finally time to level up. When Noah's proficiency in omnipotence had reached 2,000 points, he would be qualified to level up. As long as he obtained enough experience points to be called a great achievement, then Noah could level up to LV5. LV5. That's not as simple as just leveling up. You know, in the world of looking for a chance encounter in the underground city, LV, for known as the second level adventurer, LV, level 5 was known as the number 1 adventurer. It was upgraded to LV. With a level of 5, one would have the qualifications to be called an expert. And to level up to LV, Noah had already gathered 5 great achievements. He had defeated one of the strongest star elves, Arjul. He defeated the demon king, Pesht, who was a deity. This level of achievement was definitely enough to be called a great achievement. Now, all that's left is to choose how to develop my abilities. Developing abilities. This was a passive special ability that could be added to one's ability value whenever one's level increased. Of course, this didn't mean that he could obtain it every time he leveled up. Whether or not one could obtain the ability to develop depended entirely on one's accumulated experience points and the actions one had taken. For example, those who frequently forged weapons and armor would be able to develop the ability to smelt. For example, those who frequently concocted potions and medicines would be able to develop the ability of harmonization. If he didn't gain enough EXP, even if he leveled up, he wouldn't be able to develop his abilities. On the other hand, as long as he obtained a suitable amount of experience points, he would be able to choose from multiple abilities. This time, Noah was able to obtain a total of 3 abilities to develop. These 3 abilities were respectively Fist Punch, Shatter, and Abnormal Resistance. Among them, Fist Punch was an ability that could only be obtained by fighting barehanded for a period of time. The effect of this ability was very simple. It was to increase one's attack power during barehanded combat. It was likely that Noah had met the condition to obtain this ability after fighting with reverse 16 knights for a long period of time. As for Shatter, it was an ability that could only be obtained after going through large-scale destruction. Noah felt that the opportunity to obtain this ability should be due to his experience in the previous world when he used thunder to transform the entire Si Lien cult nation into ruins. The effect of this ability was also very simple. It could increase the destructive power of all of the user's attacks. As for Abnormal Resistance, it was an ability that could possibly be obtained after undergoing the baptism of negative powers such as poison and weakness to a certain extent. During the battle with Pesht, Noah had indeed stayed in the vortex of the Black Death virus for quite some time. Thus, he was able to obtain this ability to resist abnormal states. Then, which of the 3 abilities should he choose? First, I have to eliminate abnormal states. Since I have a physique that is immune to all negative powers, there is no need to add this ability, said Noah as though he was talking to himself. So, should I choose between Fist Punch and Shatter? The former could increase one's attack power during barehanded combat. The latter could increase the destructive power of all attacks. Regardless of which one it was a very useful ability. However, if one were to ask which one Noah was more inclined to choose, then Shatter, concluded Noah. I already have Swordsman, which can increase the attack power and defense of sword-type weapons. There is no need to increase the attack power of barehanded combat. Noah's combat style was rather varied. Among them, although he had barehanded combat, he was not proficient in it. In a situation where he really needed to go all out, he would not have the opportunity to use it. No matter what, Noah's attainments in barehanded combat were only limited to some martial arts styles that he had learned in the world of the Black Bullet. It was not considered a high level at all. Noah's true skill lay in his swordsmanship. After all, compared to the martial arts that he had learned in the world of the Black Bullet, swordsmanship was a skill that Noah had honed for many years since he was young. In addition, he had also learned the ultimate sword skill. In terms of skills, Noah could only be said to have reached the acme of perfection in swordsmanship. Barehanded combat only involved some martial arts. Even if he was not a layman, he was definitely not an expert. Therefore, in a situation where he already had the swordsman ability, there was no need to add the fist punch ability. On the other hand, shatter can increase the destructive power of any attack, including swordsmanship and weapons. I believe that even the attack method of using a large number of noble artifacts and the true name release of noble artifacts should be included, right? Therefore, Noah made his decision. All right. It's decided then. After a while, Noah's new ability value status came out. Noah Dole LV 5 Strength, SSS, 2000, A, 865, Durability, SSS, 2000, A, 877, Dexterity, SSS, 2000, A, 880, Agility, SSS, 2000, A, 888, Magic, SSS, 2000, A, 866, Mystery, F Magic, F Swordsman, F Shatter, I Magic, Weapon Refinement Steel Making Magic Copy, Refine, and Forge Weapons Copy. Refine and forge weapons will be weakened to a certain extent depending on the level, performance, and ability of the weapon. Copy, refine, and forge weapons will be maintained for a long time depending on the level, performance, and ability of the weapon. Swords Protection Permanent Magic Permanent protection will be obtained according to the attributes of the contract spirit. Contract spirit as a sword spirit, obtain the protection of the sword spirit and weaken physical attacks on oneself. The degree of weakening will increase or decrease according to the strength and ability of the target. Cold Smelting Quick Attack Magic make the target gradually turn into steel. If the tempering is successful, it will be crushed. The tempering speed will be determined according to the strength and ability of the target. Skills, protection from the world permanent skill equal to luck. Events that have a direct relationship with luck will eventually lead to the most favorable results. Clenching his fist, Noah felt the substantial improvement brought by the upgrade, and the corner of his mouth slowly raised. Chapter 1338. The outer door of Box 2105380, the base of the community, no name. Pang. Following the sound of a muffled explosion, in an open space some distance away from the no-name library, a burst of thick sand and dust rose into the air, floating towards the gradually darkening sky. A gentle breeze blew past, gradually carrying away the thick sand and dust that rose into the air, leaving a crater that looked like it was hit by a meteorite. And in the middle of this crater, Noah maintained his posture of punching the ground, slowly straightening his body. With slow movements, he slightly opened and closed his hands, feeling the strength flowing through his body. Noah nodded with great satisfaction. With my current physical ability, I reckon that I can easily suppress Hercules in the form of a servant, right? His ability value rose to LV. After reaching 5, Noah's strength, durability, dexterity, agility, and magic, a total of 5 basic abilities had a qualitative leap. In the past, Noah had estimated that if his ability value rose to LV, level 5, then he would be able to match Hercules in the form of a servant. Now it seems that at that time, Noah had somewhat underestimated himself. With Noah's current physical ability, not to mention matching Hercules, even suppressing him would be a piece of cake. If now, Noah and Hercules were to use their full strength to punch each other, then, the result would definitely be that Noah would not move an inch, and Hercules would be directly sent flying like a cannonball, right? This was also a matter of course. In the world of looking for a chance encounter in the underground city, the people who received the grace bestowed by God, if they wanted to level up, not only must they have enough experience to call it a great achievement, they also needed to lay down a good foundation before leveling up. In simple terms, it was to raise all ability values to the level of D, then they would have the qualifications to level up to the next level. And the proficiency of D was only 500. In other words, when the proficiency of all ability points reached 500, that person would be qualified to level up. At this time, as long as he could achieve enough EXP to level up, he would be able to do so. But for Noah, if he wanted to level up, he had to reach the limit of his ability value. According to the data compiled by the Pantheon in the past 1,000 years, the proficiency limit of the ability points could only reach 999, which was the S stage of the ability points. However, if Noah wanted to level up, he had to surpass this limit and reach the 2,000 proficiency points that could not be increased anymore, which was the SSS stage. This was a realm that no one could reach. Only Noah, who Hastia said had terrifying possibilities, could reach. Only by reaching this realm would Noah be qualified to level up. Every time I level up, the basic ability proficiency of the ability value will all return to 0. However, the basic ability of the previous level does not disappear. Instead, it is kept as a hidden ability, Noah muttered to himself. So, after leveling up, even if all the basic abilities of the ability value decrease, the actual ability is much stronger than before. Now, Noah was fully aware of this reality. Although all the ability points had decreased to the A stage, that was LV. A stage of level 5 was much stronger than LV, SSS stage of level 4 was much stronger. After all, since it was called leveling up, it had almost the same meaning as being reborn. If before, I still needed to use enhance magic to strengthen my physical ability, and then use Red Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet to increase my strength in order to fight with 16 knights, then now, I definitely don't need to do that. Noah clenched one of his fists, his eyes shining brightly. Now that I have reached LV 5, and all the ability points are at the A stage, I don't need to use Red Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet to increase my strength. I only need to use Enhance Magic to strengthen my strength, and then I can match 16 Knights' terrifying physical ability. This was LV 4 and LV. The difference between 5. Of course, this difference only existed for Noah. From LV 1, he leveled up to LV. At this stage of 5, every time Noah leveled up, he leveled up to the SSS stage of 2,000 ability points. Others, on the other hand, could only level up to the D stage of 500 ability points. Under such circumstances, according to the rules of leveling up, every time after leveling up, although the ability points and ability points would all return to 0, the ability points of the previous level would not disappear. Instead, it would be preserved as a hidden ability. Noah leveled up to the limit every time he leveled up, and the ability points of the previous level were preserved to this day. One could imagine how terrifying it was. Therefore, Noah could be sure that even if it was called Eulalia's ultimate weapon, the only LV7 Oda, it was not to this extent. Even if all other factors were removed, and Noah and Oda were assumed to be ordinary people with the same physical ability, then, after going through several levels, the ability points of the ability points were raised to the SSS stage of 2,000 and above, and it was preserved as a hidden ability. Noah only needed to level up to LV4, he could level up to LV7 ability points comparable to Oda. Therefore, based purely on the ability points increase, he could level up to LV5. Noah undoubtedly surpassed Oda in all aspects. After leveling up, Noah had absolute confidence that he did not need to use the Scarlet Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet, boosted gear, to multiply his strength. He only needed to use the Enhance Magic to strengthen himself, and then he would be able to match 16 Knights' foul physical ability. As for the development of the Fragmentation ability, currently it is only at the lowest stage of I, and the increase in destructive power is not obvious. Noah gradually grasped his current strength in all aspects. Moreover, the increase is only destructive power, and not offensive power. Even if the fragmentation stage is increased, it will not help in fighting. Thinking of this, Noah was actually somewhat eager to give it a try. Should I call that 16 nights guy out to play? As long as he slightly provoked that problem child, 16 nights would definitely happily jump out and have a fight with Noah, right? However, if it really comes to that point, I reckon that problem child will not give up until the victor is decided. If that was the case, Noah felt that it would be better if he did not look for trouble. Just as Noah was preparing to return to the main hall, a shocking aura flashed within the range of Noah's detection ability. Noah's footsteps slightly paused, and he raised his head. His eyes flashed with traces of coldness. Only because that fleeting aura was mixed with the same fleeting murderous aura. That murderous aura was completely targeted at Noah. Immediately, Noah closed his eyes, and then suddenly opened them. In a flash, he flew towards the horizon. Late at night, quiet. Faint moonlight sprinkled down from the horizon, bathing the entire, no-name, base that was like a wasteland. It looked somewhat desolate, but it also seemed exceptionally calm. In this extremely calm night, a black shadow suddenly flashed out. The tip of his foot touched the ground, and his body nimbly flew to the top of a dilapidated building. It was a person covered in a black robe. Raising his head, his bright eyes faintly revealed under the black robe. The black-robed person's gaze shot straight ahead. Shio! At that moment, a stream of light flew over from the horizon and landed on the top of a dilapidated building in front of the black-robed man. It also raised its head and looked coldly at the black-robed man who did not appear to be very tall. Two gazes suddenly collided in the night, and sparks flew. Chapter 1339. Without any reason, dark clouds suddenly appeared in the sky, covering the stars and the moon in the sky, blocking all sources of light. Because the sovereignty of the stars was in the hands of the various Asura gods and Buddhas, such a situation rarely occurred in the night sky of the box court. Now, the night sky was covered by thick dark clouds, causing the entire land under the night sky to be replaced by darkness. Under such circumstances, on the top of the dilapidated building, Noah and the black-robed man stood facing each other, looking at each other. Noah, who had outstanding sensing ability, could clearly feel that the black-robed man in front of him, who was not very tall, was definitely not an ordinary character. As for why, the reason was very simple. If he was just an ordinary character, then he definitely would not have such a strong sense of presence. That kind of sense of presence, as if he was destined to rule the world, anyone who felt it would feel that the other party was not a simple character. And such an existence suddenly appeared in the base of No Name, and once released a targeted killing intent towards Noah. How could Noah not be serious? Of course, Noah did not know. Just like how Noah could clearly feel that the black-robed man in front of him was not simple, the other party also intuitively felt that Noah was not simple. No. Rather than saying that he was not simple, it would be better to say that he was extremely terrifying. Because, in the black-robed man's perception, Noah did not have his strange sense of presence, nor did he have anything special. It was as if he had integrated into the whole world, and felt that it was so natural. That posture only gave the black-robed man a feeling. That is, it was as if the whole world was standing on Noah's side. That kind of almost inconceivable feeling, until now, the black-robed man had never felt it from anyone. Even those Asura gods and Buddhas who were known as the strongest race in the box court. Under such a confrontation, the originally calm black-robed man was the first to be unable to maintain the stalemate. You are the human who defeated the Black Death Spot Demon King, right? Human. Noah narrowed his eyes and said with a smile that was not a smile. In other words, you're not human, right? Who knows? Even I don't know what I am. The black-robed man said in a tone that sounded perfunctory but also serious. Compared to that, I'm actually more interested in knowing whether or not you're a threat to us. Oh. Noah said faintly. What if he does? The black-robed man's face, which was covered by the hood, slightly raised the corners of his mouth into a dangerous arc. Then I'll kill you. At this moment, the murderous aura that had been directed at Noah not long ago expanded from the black-robed man's body. The invisible murderous aura transformed into visible airwaves, blowing around like a gale. Then, like waves, it spread in all directions, causing Noah's robes to flutter. Noah's expression did not change in the slightest as he stood amidst the wave of killing intent. He cast his gaze towards the black-robed person and suddenly smiled. You. That's right. The black-robed man smiled as well. Just me. As soon as he finished speaking, the dilapidated building under the black-robed man's feet cracked open. With a loud muffled explosion, the building under the black-robed man's feet directly cracked open, causing a shock wave. That was because the black-robed man had used an extremely powerful force to charge forward, causing a reaction force that was caused by the reaction force. As a result, the black-robed man's figure turned into a swift and violent cannonball, rubbing against the atmosphere. With a sharp piercing sound, he violently shot in the direction of Noah. That speed was almost comparable to the speed of the third universe. The distance between Noah and the black-robed man was less than 100 meters. With such a terrifying speed, the black-robed man would need less than a blink of an eye to fly in front of Noah. However, at the same time that the black-robed man turned into a cannonball and shot towards Noah, a wave-like golden ripple fluctuated out from Noah's surroundings and surrounded Noah. At this moment, the black-robed man who had turned into a swift and violent cannonball just happened to flash in front of Noah and was also surrounded by the wave-like golden ripples. The black-robed man immediately became vigilant. Without any hesitation, he stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. It was also at this moment that silver chains with resplendent golden light burst out from the wave-like golden ripples and crisscrossed the space around Noah. Just now, if the black-robed man did not choose to retreat, then he would have been bound by the heaven-lock Enkidu. However, Noah was not the kind of person who would passively endure the attacks of others. Looking at the black-robed man who did not hesitate to retreat, Noah's eyes flashed and he raised a hand. In the next moment, the wave-like golden ripples once again fluctuated in the space around Noah. Inside, a variety of treasured tools such as sabers, swords, spears, halberds, and so on came out. They trembled and transformed into an aurora. It seemed as if a streak of resplendent golden streamer had blotted out the sky, and violently shot towards the direction of the black-robed man. However, in the next moment, Noah was finally shocked. Clang, 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 clang. Along with the crisp sound of steel colliding with steel, the treasures turned into streaks of light one by one. The treasures that had left behind glorious achievements and great reputations in various myths and legends were all bounced off one by one. Of course, if the black-robed man had used his fists or other methods to deflect the rain of relic like 16 nights in reverse, Noah would not have been so surprised. There was only one reason why Noah was shocked. That was, the precious artifacts that could pierce through any living being were all repelled by the black-robed man as if they had collided with steel when the black-robed man didn't dodge at all. Yes. They were not blocked, but when they landed on the black-robed man's body, they were bounced off. It was not that Noah had not seen the same situation before. In the past, during the Holy Grail War in the Planet of the Moon, Gilgamesh and Hercules' battle had also shown the same scene. This was because Hercules' treasures were able to nullify any attacks below grade A. When Gilgamesh used treasures below grade A to attack, they were all bounced off by Hercules' body. Now, the black-robed man was in the same situation. He did not dodge, nor did he dodge. It was as if he knew from the beginning that Noah's treasures were ineffective against him. He used his body to bounce off the treasure's rain. At that moment, Noah's eyes flashed with a sharp light that and the fluctuation of magic, there was a flickering fluorescence. Lines like electric wires spread on Noah's hands and feet, strengthening Noah's arm and leg strength. At that moment, Noah gained strength and speed that was not inferior to 16 knights. Dong! In the muffled explosion, Noah fiercely stomped on the ground. At the same time, a part of the dilapidated building was directly crushed. His body was like a bullet, carrying the whistling sound of the wind, and swept in front of the black-robed man who was retreating. His dark and deep eyes that were flickering with a sharp light met with his slightly constricted pupils. Then, both sides moved at the same time. Bang! The fist that was enough to shake up a violent shock wave landed on an arm that was raised up, causing a circle of terrifying wind waves to spread to the surroundings. The black-robed man who crossed his arms in front of his body and blocked the terrifying punch only felt an unparalleled force crazily hit his body. Immediately, the black-robed man flew out. Like a meteorite falling from the sky, in the sharp sound of a whoosh, he heavily hit the ground not far from the dilapidated building. Bang! Along with the loud roar, the black-robed man directly smashed the ground, causing the ground to sink, creating a deep pit with a diameter of more than 100 meters. Needless to say, Noah was quite lucky. Why? Because, just today, he had just leveled up and allowed his strength to take a step forward. Someone sent himself to be Noah's sandbag, helping Noah to test his strength. Could it be that this was not considered lucky? Chapter 1340. Rumble. The dilapidated building collapsed with a loud bang, raising a thick cloud of sand and dust. It was completely turned into ruins. The reason why it collapsed was because of the two attacks from Noah and the black-robed man, which caused the building itself to crack. It was only 2 attacks, but the building directly collapsed. Although part of the reason was that the building was already quite dilapidated, the main reason was that the impact caused by the 2 charges of Noah and the black-robed man caused the building itself to collapse. After passing through LV, Noah was at level 5, and his all-ability value was at the A stage. After being strengthened by enhanced magic, it was not surprising that Noah could achieve this result. However, the black-robed man who came out of nowhere also had such a terrifying physical ability, which was really surprising. And this also proved that the black-robed man was definitely not an ordinary person. Or rather, to be able to use his body to directly bounce off a noble artifact, it was enough to prove that the black-robed man was not an ordinary person. Landing in front of the huge hole, Noah waved his hand, raising a gust of wind, which blew away all the sand and dust from the hole, revealing the situation inside. In the center of the hole, the black-robed man slowly stood up, patted off the gravel and dust on his body, and then looked at Noah. Although there was no way to see the face covered by the black hood, Noah could feel it. The other party's gaze on him had already changed. To be able to suppress me like this, I didn't think that there would be such a talent in no name. The black-robed man muttered as if talking to himself. In the beginning, I heard that there was a member in this community who had thousands of divine deity-grade weapons that defeated the demon star spirit. I didn't really believe it, until the news of a Black Death Spot Demon King being defeated by the same person reached my ears. Then I thought of meeting this person a little bit, to see the truth. The weapons that were shot at me just now did indeed have the aura of a divine deity. The black-robed man laughed and shrugged. It seems that I have no choice but to believe you. Does it matter to you whether I believe it or not? Noah looked directly at the black-robed man. In any case, as long as it's a weapon, it's useless against you, right? Oh. The black-robed man was surprised. Did you see through it? Is it that hard to see through? Noah curled his lips. I used weapons to launch a barrage of attacks at you, but I couldn't even cause you the slightest bit of damage. Instead, I was able to easily send you flying with a single punch. In that case, it shouldn't be difficult to guess that you have a gift that can nullify the attacks of weapons, right? I feel that there shouldn't be anyone who can easily send me flying with a single punch in this box with less than 4 digits. The black-robed man said, but he didn't hide the fact that he agreed with Noah's reasoning. However, you're right. This body does indeed possess the blessing of invulnerability. Even a Godhead-bestowed weapon wouldn't be able to penetrate this body. Invulnerability. Noah looked at the black-robed man meaningfully. So that's how it is. No wonder you needed to avoid the heavenlock Enkidu at the beginning. It's because it's not a weapon used to attack, but a weapon used to bind you. This type of weapon should still be effective against you, right? Maybe. After all, the Black Death Spot Demon King couldn't hide from the heavenlock Enkidu. Naturally, I can't ignore the legendary level chain. The black-robed man said helplessly. Although it's not what I want, this body does have divinity. For me, I still have to be a little wary of that chain. Then, it's about time to reveal your identity, right? Noah sneered. Although it's not a secret, to be able to know that I possess thousands of Godhead-ranked weapons, use it to defeat the demon star spirit, and know about the existence of the heavenlock Enkidu, it's obvious that you know the details of my battle with the Black Death Spot Demon King. It's impossible that you don't have any power behind you, right? That kind of thing isn't important anymore. The black-robed man smiled as if he didn't answer the question. I only need to know that you are indeed a difficult person to deal with. That's enough. After saying that, without giving Noah a chance to speak, the black-robed man muttered to himself. However, I originally thought that even if you really possess thousands of Godhead-ranked weapons, for me who is invulnerable, as long as I pay attention to the existence of the heavenlock Enkidu, you shouldn't be a threat. But now, it seems that even without those Godhead-ranked weapons, you aren't an existence that can be dealt with casually. To be able to easily send me flying with a punch, that proves that at least on the surface, I'm not your opponent. If I really want to kill you, I can't do it without taking out my real trump card. The black-robed man muttered. But if I take out my trump card here, it's a bit stupid. Not to mention that the Demon King of White Night is in this outer area. If I take out that kind of trump card, it will only attract the strongest star spirit. It's a bit of a miscalculation. Seeing that the black-robed man began to calculate the strength of both sides, Noah's eyes became colder and colder. Although he didn't know what kind of trump card this black-robed man was hiding, the fact that the black-robed man didn't care about Noah's existence and began to calculate his own gains and losses, it was obvious that he thought that as long as he took out his trump card, he would definitely be able to kill Noah. That extremely confident attitude made Noah suddenly laugh. I see, you can't take out your trump card. After saying such a sentence, a burst of violent magic rose from Noah's body and turned into a gust of wind, blowing in all directions. Since you don't plan to take out your trump card, then try mine. As soon as his voice fell, a solemn voice resounded throughout the entire space. For victory, quickly come before me. Immortal Sun, please bestow upon me a shining steed, a spirited steed. Bring me the light will that symbolizes your Lord. At this moment, in Noah's heart, the outline of the stone plate that was connected to the 10 patterns, one of the patterns suddenly lit up. Then, the sky lit up. Yes. It lit up. As if all the darkness between heaven and earth was expelled, an extremely dazzling sun parted the clouds and appeared in the sky, illuminating the entire night sky. At this moment, all the residents of the outer gate of 2105380 rushed out of the buildings one after another. Looking at the sky that was suddenly as bright as day and the sun that suddenly appeared, they fell into a clamor. Summon the sun. The black-robed man's face finally changed abruptly. Could it be that you have the sovereignty of the sun? The sovereignty of the sun. It was the same principle as the sovereignty of the demonic star that Luos once controlled and could summon the star spirit of the demonic star. That was the sovereignty of the sun. However, it was different from the demonic star. Because the sun was extremely important and had a very special status among all the stars, its sovereignty was not only one, but was divided into 24. These 24 sovereignty of the sun were divided into the following 24 types according to the celestial divisions of the 12 zodiac and the 12 equatorial stars. The 12 sovereignty of the 12 zodiac were divided into Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, a total of 12. The 12 sovereignty of the 12 equatorial stars were divided into rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, chicken, dog, and pig, a total of 12. There were a total of 24 sovereignty of the sun, each of which allowed the holder to summon the star beast corresponding to the sovereignty of the sun. Now, the miracle that Noah displayed was almost exactly the same as the scene of the holder of the sovereignty of the sun summoning star beasts. However, the next scene made the black-robed man completely dispel this idea. That was because, within the sun that illuminated the entire horizon, a majestic white horse had quietly appeared. Neigh! The extremely loud neigh of the horse reverberated. Chapter 1341. Neigh. The horse's neigh that resounded through the sky seemed to be able to spread to any corner of the world, turning into an echo that continuously reverberated in the air. Everyone in the outer door of 2105380 looked at the divine white horse that appeared from the dazzling sun in the sky. All of them fell into a daze. As for the black-robed man, he calmed down instead. No. That's not the sun's sovereignty. In the beginning, the black-robed man thought that Noah held the sun's sovereignty of the horse among the 12 equatorial stars. Now, it seemed that the power Noah used was not the sun's sovereignty at all. After all, the sun's sovereignty of the horse is in the hands of the White Night King. The black-robed man stared at the white horse in the center of the dazzling sun in the sky. What's more, although that white horse has the power of the sun, it is not the star beast of the sun's sovereignty. That's right. The white horse that appeared in the eyes of the black-robed man was not a star beast, but a pure collection of the sun's power. In other words, although it looked like a divine white horse, the body of the divine white horse that appeared in the center of the dazzling sun was only a collection of the sun's fire, not a living body. It had no life, nor consciousness. It was just a flame from the sun that appeared in the shape of a horse. Even so, the flame from the sun was enough to burn the black-robed man's body in an instant. It only needed an instant. Noah, who stood in front of the huge pit, stared at the black-robed man with emotionless eyes as if the dazzling sun with the majestic white horse in the center was in the background. He slowly raised his hand. Although the voice was extremely soft, it clearly entered the ears of the black-robed man. The black-robed man finally could not help but shout. Wait! Do you want to shatter the curtain of the box court? This sentence caused Noah's hand that was about to fall to the ground to freeze in mid-air. It wasn't until this moment that Noah remembered. Above the box court, there was a curtain that could dilute the sun's light, allowing vampires and other nocturnal creatures to live in the box court during the day. If the flames from the sun fell from the sky, it would definitely shatter the curtain above the courtyard. At that time, Letitia and the other nocturnal creatures would no longer be able to continue living in the city during the day. TSK. Noah couldn't help but click his tongue, and the mana in his body gradually began to converge. In the sky, at the center of the sun that illuminated the entire world, the majestic white horse turned into a burst of resplendent golden flames and merged into the sun, disappearing without a trace. However, the dazzling sun still didn't disappear, making the world as bright as day. Under these circumstances, the black-robed man had ample reason to believe. If they made Noah unhappy, the sun in the sky would still fall. We really miscalculated, the black-robed man said in a low voice, feeling heavy from the bottom of his heart. Other than the thousands of Godhead bestowment weapons, this guy can also use the power of the sun. It was just like what Noah felt. Before this, the black-robed man had never thought that he would lose to Noah. The reason was just as the black-robed man had said. He still had a hidden trump card. However, the black-robed man had obviously forgotten one thing. In this world, he wasn't the only one who could hide his strength. If he could have a trump card, others could also have a trump card. Even this white horse incarnation that showed the power of the sun was only a part of Noah's trump card. Make your choice. Noah coldly looked at the black-robed man. Are you going to take off the black robe yourself? Or am I going to take off that eyesore of a black robe? Hearing this, the black-robed man was silent for a moment, and then suddenly smiled. What? Do you really want to know my true identity? Saying such a sentence, the black-robed man opened his hand and declared. But, don't worry, now is not the time to let you know. Since you have such power, we will meet sooner or later, even if you and I don't want to, it will be the same. After saying this, the black-robed man clapped his hands. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared beside the black-robed man. It was also a black-robed man. Seeing this, Noah's eyes suddenly narrowed. Before this, Noah did not notice any signs of someone approaching. Under such circumstances, the black-robed man who suddenly appeared beside the black-robed man, who was shorter than the former, spoke with a playful and dissatisfied voice. Now, are you satisfied? It was a girl's voice. Moreover, it was a very young girl's voice. Obviously, this black-robed man who suddenly appeared was a young girl. Facing the dissatisfaction of the young girl who was also wrapped in a black robe, the black-robed man bitterly laughed. Satisfied, of course I'm satisfied. At least, we know that outside of the plan, there is someone who has enough power to affect our plan, right? Well, that's true. The young girl's voice revealed a trace of cheerfulness. If that's the case, then our trip here is not in vain. That's right, this person is indeed a considerable threat to us. The black-robed man said bluntly. It's a pity that we can't do anything to him now. The young girl nodded her head in agreement. Then, she turned around and looked at Noah. She asked in a somewhat naive and provocative manner. Little big brother, you're the one who solved Little Pest's game, right? May I ask how long did you use to solve it? I only used 5 days to solve it. From the young girl's voice, Noah was able to tell that she was very satisfied with this result. Unfortunately, the young girl asked the wrong person. 5 days. Noah said indifferently. I used 5 hours. The young girl was immediately speechless. Ha 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 ha. The black-robed man immediately laughed loudly. It would appear that it is not only strength. This time, even the opponent's intelligence is extraordinary. Humph. The young girl glared at Noah in an unconvinced manner. So what? The real battle has only just begun. After saying those words, the young girl placed her hand on the black-robed man's shoulder. The black-robed man stared closely at Noah, as if he was trying to remember Noah's appearance. He left behind such a sentence. We will meet again sooner or later. You are an existence outside of the plan. After leaving behind such a sentence, the 2 black-robed men disappeared from their original positions at the same time. The entire place suddenly became silent. Looking at the place where the 2 black-robed men disappeared from, Noah did not speak for a long time. Only after a long while did he mutter. Is it the gift of space jumping? How interesting. Following Noah's mutter, the sun in the sky slowly retracted its dazzling light and gradually disappeared, allowing darkness to once again descend upon the earth. The daytime sky returned to its nighttime state. However, the thick layer of dark clouds also disappeared. Then, Noah heard it. All sorts of footsteps could be heard approaching them. In the No Name Library's chat room, Bayasha glared at Noah with an unhappy expression. What is going on? It was not just Bayasha. 16 Nights Reversal, Joyuen Flying Bird, Haruhito Masaaki, Black Rabbit, Letitia, Ren, and even Lily were all present. At the same time, they cast their gazes on Noah, their eyes full of questions. In this regard, Noah just said with an innocent expression. What do you mean, what is going on? Are you still trying to pretend? Bayasha's expression became more and more unhappy. That sun was your doing, right? The sun. Noah scratched his cheek and laughed. Why are you so sure that I was the one who did it? Nonsense, in this 2105380 outer gate, I can't think of anyone else who can use such a powerful sun's power other than you. Bayasha frowned. So, don't tell me it wasn't you. Thanks to you, in order to appease those frightened residents, I took the blame. Wasn't that right? In order to reassure the residents of the outer gate, Bayasha took the blame for the sun appearing at night to himself. After all, Bayasha was the star spirit of the sun. For Bayasha to be the scapegoat, it was the most suitable choice. Of course, if one were to say that they were not happy, there would definitely be some. Chapter 1342. Knowing that White Yiksha had taken the blame for him, Noah was startled at first, then he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, that was something that couldn't be helped. Undoubtedly, 1 second ago, it was still the middle of the night, and the next second, the entire sky was bright. It was as if after midnight, not only was the sky not dark, but it suddenly became as bright as noon. No matter who it was, they would feel panic. And this kind of panic was even greater in the courtyard with all kinds of asuras. After all, no one knew if an existence like the sun god suddenly went crazy and wanted to burn the entire outer sect of 2105380 with the flames from the sun. And if a demon king who controlled the power of the sun suddenly attacked, it would be even worse. Therefore, when Noah used the incarnation of the white horse to turn the entire night into day, the panic caused in that instant almost caused the residents of the outer sect of 2105380 to flee in panic. If White Yiksha hadn't appeared in time to suppress the panic and take the blame for it, the outer sect area would have been in chaos. In this regard, Noah could only frankly surrender. Sorry. Because I was looked down on, I got too excited and accidentally went overboard. In fact, after the incident, Noah was more or less afraid. If the black-robed man hadn't blurted out a reminder to protect himself, Noah might have really used the white horse to break the curtain above the courtyard and cause a huge disaster. Don't forget, Noah's authority was fused with the limit ability. When not used, he could enter a state of self-enhancement. And when he used it, because the God Slayer had the characteristic of becoming stronger the more he fought, Noah's authority could also become stronger in battle. In other words, whether Noah used his authority or not, his authority could continue to become stronger. However, compared to the self-enhancement when not used, Noah's authority would increase faster in battle. Therefore, Noah hoped that Gaia and Alea would choose a higher-level world for him so that he could throw himself into a battle where he could use his authority and quickly increase the power of his authority. Unfortunately, it had only been a month since he came to the courtyard. Other than White Yiksha, Noah hadn't met an opponent who was worthy of him using his authority as his trump card. Even so, Noah's authority was still growing stronger. Under such circumstances, it had been about a year since Noah obtained authority in the world of the God-Slayer. After such a long period of continuous strengthening, Noah's authority was much stronger than when he first obtained it. If that was the case, if he had really used the incarnation of the white horse to attack the black-robed man, not only the curtains of Hecate, even the base of No Name would have been burnt to a crisp, right? This was also under the condition that Noah didn't use divine power that could greatly increase the power of authority, but only magic power. One could imagine what kind of disaster it would be for the outer gate of 2105380 if Noah really lost his mind in anger. In the world of the God Slayer, the reason why the relevant people in the magic world were so afraid of the God Slayer and worshipped him as the demon king was because they were worried that once he was in a bad mood, he would casually vent his anger and cause a great disaster. When he thought about how he had almost unintentionally done the same thing as Warban, Luohao, and Tony, and how he was worthy of the name of the demon king, Noah felt terrible. It was unknown if he had seen something from Noah's expression, but White Yiksha's face eased a little and he waved the paper fan in his hand. Forget it, no matter what, you didn't really make the sun set. Otherwise, if the outer gate area of the East District that I am in charge of was burned to ashes under the power of the sun, then no matter if it was the ruler of the East District or the star spirit of the sun, I would lose all my face, right? How about you have a little self-control? Little brother. 16 Nights Reversal also interrupted. Moreover, it's fine to make the sun set, but why didn't you ask me to do such a fun thing? Jiyuyu and Hiroi Buyao said at the same time. That's right. That's right. You guys. It was unknown when Black Rabbit had a paper fan in his hand, but with 3 crisp sounds, he slapped 16 Nights Reversal, Jiyuyu, and Hiroi Buyao on the heads of the 3 problem children. You idiot adults, that's enough. This is not something that can be described as fun, Letitia said with dissatisfaction. Letitia also said with some dissatisfaction. She looked at Noah with eyes full of blame. My master, you are the same. Please consider what kind of disaster overusing your power will bring to the surroundings, okay? Okay. I will be careful next time. Noah shook his head with a wry smile, then pulled himself together and looked at White Yiksha. By the way, White Yiksha, I have something to ask you. What? White Yiksha looked at Noah in annoyance. Are you trying to find trouble for me again? I just have some questions I want to ask you. Don't be so vigilant. Noah sighed, then became serious and looked straight at White Yiksha. Do you know who in the box court can use the gift of invulnerability? The gift of invulnerability. White Yiksha was slightly startled and asked in confusion. Why do you ask? Well, I just have something I want to study. Noah brushed him off. Help me think. See if there's anyone who can use the gift of invulnerability. The gift of invulnerability. White Yiksha looked at Noah suspiciously at first. When he saw that Noah's expression was very serious, he sighed slightly and began to think. If you are referring to the gift of invulnerability, I do know some people who can use it. There are even quite a few small fries. It's not the kind of gift that ordinary weapons can't cut. Noah corrected him. It's the gift of invulnerability that can even completely block a Godhead gift armament. An invulnerable blessing that can even completely block a Godhead grade blessing. White Yiksha's brows furrowed tightly. If that's the case, the first person I can think of is the predecessor of No Name, a member of this community when it was still at its peak. A former member of this community. Noah was stunned. At this time, Letitia couldn't help but speak. White Yiksha, are you talking about Ritian Lion? Ritian Lion. Noah looked at Letitia. Letitia, is the Ritian Lion you speak of the person who has the gift of invulnerability? To be precise, Ritian Lion isn't a person, but a divine beast that drives the sun god war chariot. Letitia explained. Furthermore, Ritian Lion doesn't have the gift of invulnerability. That invulnerability power is only the power obtained after the Leo constellation Sun Sovereign was strengthened. Leo constellation Sun Sovereign. Noah was finally shocked. In other words, this community used to have a member who had the Sun Sovereign. Yes, Master Noah. Letitia nodded, then bit her lip. However, in the attack of the Demon King 3 years ago, the Retian lion who had the Leo constellation Sun Sovereign should have been captured by the enemy Demon King like me. The Leo constellation Sun Sovereign should have fallen into the hands of the enemy, right? If it's the Retian lion who has the Leo constellation Sun Sovereign and has been strengthened by the Sun Sovereign, then even a Godhead gift armament can be repelled, right? White Yiksha said with a sigh. That kind of Sun Sovereign falling into the hands of a Demon King is really a situation that doesn't make people happy. Is that so? Noah immediately fell into deep thought. Sun Sovereign. Looking at Noah, who was completely lost in thought, White Yiksha narrowed his eyes slightly. Immediately, he also fell into deep thought. Chapter 1343. In the end, although he had a discussion with White Yiksha about the gift of invulnerability and the sovereignty of the sun, Noah did not tell White Yiksha about the black-robed man. Wasn't that to be expected? Although the other party had directly targeted Noah, his true face and purpose were completely unknown. If it was just an attack on Noah, it wouldn't be a crime in this box where there were existences that surpassed human intelligence everywhere, right? Just because someone was picking on him, Noah could not bring himself to complain to the person who dominated his social class. This was equivalent to looking for the teacher when he was bullied by his classmates. Therefore, in the end, this matter was left unsettled. Regarding this, although White Yiksha couldn't let it go, he couldn't continue to question him and could only leave helplessly. As for No Name's companions, they questioned Noah about this matter, but Noah, who didn't have any clues, still perfunctorily brushed them off, causing them to scatter with dissatisfaction. After dealing with those troublesome problem children, Noah returned to his room. After placing Aster, who had transformed into a small sword, on the bed, Noah directly laid down and closed his eyes as various thoughts flashed through his mind. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Immediately after, a voice that was light and tender but also faintly carried a sense of maturity rang out. Master Noah, are you asleep? Letitia. Noah came back to his senses, but he didn't get up or turn around. He maintained the appearance of closing his eyes and pretending to be asleep as he spoke leisurely. Come in. As soon as he finished speaking, the door to Noah's room was directly opened. Letitia, who was wearing a cute and petite maid uniform, walked in from outside the door. As Noah's personal maid, Letitia usually entered Noah's room. However, in the past, Letitia had always used the excuse of serving Noah to enter Noah's room. But today, Letitia was obviously not here to serve Noah. That young but rather cute face was filled with a solemn atmosphere. Noah seemed to have noticed that Letitia's atmosphere was a little different from before. He opened his eyes and looked at Letitia. What happened? Letitia met Noah's gaze. After hesitating for a while, she said so. Is Master still thinking about the sovereignty of the Leo constellation sun? To be precise, you should be thinking about the gift of invulnerability, right? Noah corrected. After all, it's not only the Leo constellation sun sovereignty that can strengthen one's body to become invulnerable, right? That is indeed the case. In the box court, there are many blessings that can grant immunity to weapons, and it is not limited to the Leo constellation sun sovereignty. Letitia said seriously. However, to be able to repel the thousands of Godhead-grade bestowment weapons that Master possesses, the first thing that people would think of is the Leo constellation sun sovereignty. So, that's why White Yiksha was the first to mention it. Noah said with a sigh. I did not think that in the past, this community actually had a member who held the sun sovereignty. Regardless of which world it was, the existence of the sun was necessary. Even in this box court, among the top Asura gods and Buddhas, there were many divine spirits and star spirits that had deep connections with the sun. There were even many pure-blooded dragon species and the 3 strongest races. Under such circumstances, the sun's sovereignty that represented the most Asura gods and Buddhas with the most important position would be divided into 24 portions. And Noah had heard that even as the astral spirit of the sun, the demon king who once represented the Seism to dominate all the universes and became the center of all cosmology, White Yiksha only held sovereignty over 14 of the suns. As for the other 10 sun sovereigns, 6 of them were held by someone who similarly had the deepest connection to the sun. She was a 3-digit number, but was an exceptional existence, able to stand on equal footing with the White Yiksha, someone who was respectfully called a queen by others. In other words, there were only 4 sun sovereignty left for the world to fight over. In this world where gods and Buddhas walked everywhere and divine beasts were as numerous as dogs, to be able to stand out and hold one of the remaining 4 sun sovereignty, one could imagine how difficult it was to think about it. No name actually had such an existence in its heyday. Should it be said that it was truly worthy of being the largest community in the East District in the past? However, Letitia was silent for a while. After a while, she suddenly spoke. "Master, you're wrong." Noah was instantly stunned. Under Noah's stunned expression, Letitia spoke faintly. In this community, there was more than one member who held the sun's sovereignty. As the former leader of the Box Court Knights, I also held the sun's sovereignty. W.H. What? Noah stood up abruptly and looked at Letitia in surprise. You also have the sun's sovereignty? Yes. Letitia looked at Noah. Master should have more or less heard about me, right? Noah nodded. Letitia de Cray. This was Letitia's full name. As mentioned before, Letitia was a purebred vampire. Not only did she have godhood, but she also once wreaked havoc in the Box Court as the Demon King before finally becoming a member of this community. Before that, before Letitia became the Demon King, she had a reputation that was even wider than the Demon King. In the Box Court, vampires were called the Box Court Knights. In order to protect the only Box Court city that could move under the sun, they had always played the role of the guardians of order. Chapter 1344. Just like that, as if nothing had happened, the entire No Name began to develop at a steady pace. Under such circumstances, the day of the Southern District's Harvest Festival was not far away. And on this day, in order to discuss the Southern District's Harvest Festival, everyone gathered in the base's Great Hall. In the Great Hall that was as vast as a conference room, a long table was placed in the center. On the long table, from the seat of honor, sat Ren, Noah, 16 Knights, Jo Yuasuka, Haruhide Masaaki, Black Rabbit, Letitia, and Lily, who was chosen as the representative of the children. This order was actually very particular. In No Name, normally, when deciding on the community's activities in the Great Hall, they would need to sit according to the individual's position in the community. Of course, as the leader, Ren naturally had to sit at the head of the table. This fact made Renjing sit there with a stiff and nervous expression. What's wrong? Young Master Tiny taught. 16 Knights Reversal teased. Are you nervous? Of course I'm nervous. Ren couldn't hide his emotions as he spoke in a low voice. Bye. After all, for someone like me to sit at the head of the table, it really shouldn't be. What are you talking about? Young Master Ren. Black Rabbit quickly spoke. You are the leader of the community, isn't it natural for you to sit at the head of the table? Black Rabbit is right. Letitia also spoke as if it was natural. Ren, this is the treatment you deserve, just stick out your chest and accept it. But. Ren's voice became even lower. Undoubtedly, everyone's contribution and role to this community is greater than mine, excluding the position in the community. The position of the rest of the members, generally, was determined according to their ability, role, contribution, and other factors. The reason why Noah could sit below Ren was because he not only defeated the demon star spirit, but also defeated the demon king. He also made a lot of contributions to the revival of the base's farmland, and could be considered as the #1 contributor in the community. On the other hand, 16 Knights of Reverse Recall had always been active as an advisor to the community. He had helped Ren many times, and also had the ability to defeat the holder of a divine spark. Therefore, he was considered the existence with the greatest contribution other than Noah. As for the two girls, Jo Yuasuka and Hiroi Biao, they had also contributed greatly to the development of the community. There was only Black Rabbit. Originally, this veteran who had supported No Name for 3 whole years should have contributed greatly, but because he couldn't participate in the game of blessings as he wished, he had lost a lot of his opportunities to be active and could only be ranked below Hiroi. Including the Eve Festival, that would be 25 days, which is almost a month's time. A game of this scale is not common. If possible, I believe that we should participate in the whole process. However, it is not good for the main force of the community to leave the base for such a long time. So, we need to decide who will stay behind. As soon as he finished speaking, 16 Knights in Reverse, Jiao Fei, and Haruhibu Yaori all spoke at the same time. I refuse. Ren suddenly choked and swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Black Rabbit and Lily also had a stiff expression. For a moment, they did not know what to do. Only Letitia, who raised her eyebrows, said, "Everyone, our community is currently beginning to accumulate strength. So, in terms of defense, we need to strengthen and strengthen. It is not impossible for the low-level Tiger Man to come to the base and kidnap children. Not to mention, we have defeated the Demon King, and our reputation is gradually spreading. It will definitely attract many people's attention. Can't we reconsider? It's not that we don't understand." 16 Knights in Reverse crossed his arms in front of him. "But, the people who stay behind are not all of them, right?" "That's right." Jiao Fei now agreed. "Since it's not all of them, it means that there is a choice, right? Compared to staying behind, the Harvest Festival is obviously more interesting." Haruhibu Yaori said directly. "So, I don't want to stay." This time, Letitia did not know what to say. Seeing the situation suddenly become a complete deadlock because of the 3 problem children's way of doing things, Noah bitterly smiled and raised his hand. "If that's the case, then let me stay behind." Ren, Black Rabbit, and Lily's eyes lit up. As expected of the little bro, you gave up such a fun harvest festival and chose to stay behind to silently contribute to the community. 16 Knights in Reverse was so happy that he clapped his hands. "To be honest, you are definitely the first person I admire. Please accept 16 Knights' sincere gratitude." Jiao Fei Niao and Haruhibu Yaori also nodded. "As expected of Noah, you're so sensible. You guys have already given me enough." Noah's mouth twitched. "You guys just want to have fun, and me staying behind means that you guys can have fun. That's why you guys are so happy. You don't have to flatter me. Well, after all, we are not like little bro. Even if we choose to stay behind, there are still blonde and silver-haired lowly maids to play with." 16 Knights in Reverse said with a smile. "Also, the spotted lowly you ordered should be arriving soon, right?" After 16 Knights in Reverse said this, Black Rabbit seemed to have remembered something important and hurriedly said to Noah. Right, Noah-san, Lord White Yiksha did send a message saying that the reward from last time has been prepared, and that you can go and get it at any time." Hearing this, Noah's eyes lit up and he smiled. After all, to Noah, Pest's power was at a level that he could do without. However, to Ren, it was as if he had the help of God. If Ren's, elven enslavement envoy, were to use the Black Death Spot Demon King, then this leader with weak battle power would instantly become the main force, right? Moreover, he would not be weaker than Black Rabbit, Jio-yuki, and Kasuga Hikari. He would be the main force second only to Noah and 16 Knights. In this way, it was no wonder that Black Rabbit and Letitia were dissatisfied with Ren giving up the Black Death Spot Demon King. Of course, Noah was also somewhat dissatisfied. Ren, aren't you treating me like an outsider? After all, he's just a child, Letitia said helplessly. If Ren were a little older, we would be able to make him understand the big picture. However, he's just an 11-year-old child. There's still time. Sooner or later, he will shine brightly. For now, let's allow him to be willful. Well, what Letitia said is not completely wrong. White Yiksha spread out his hands. Anyway, with your ability, you won't bury the power of the Black Death Spot Demon King. In that case, it doesn't matter who uses it. Noah nodded in agreement. He reached out his hand and took out the ring lying in the box. At this moment, White Yiksha said, "Since the item has been taken, you can slowly communicate with her. I won't disturb you." After saying this, White Yiksha did not even give Noah and Letitia a chance to react. He turned around and walked out of the parlor. Seeing this, Noah and Letitia were stunned at the same time. Is it my imagination? Noah asked in confusion. Why does it feel like White Yiksha is running away? Unfortunately, I have the same feeling, my master, Letitia tilted her head and said immediately. No matter what, master, you should try the new gift first. Thus, Noah suppressed the doubts in his heart and put the ring on his finger. It was also at this moment that a pitch-black wave suddenly burst out from the ring on Noah's finger. A circular formation similar to a magic square with a flag depicting a piping clown pattern spun in the pitch-black wave. Soon, within the circular formation, a gust of black wind suddenly flourished and gradually turned into a human figure. Immediately, the human figure bloomed with black and white spots of light. With a tremor, it turned into a petite figure. In the next moment, a voice filled with grief and fury rang out. White Yiksha. With the human figure as the center, a pitch-black gust of wind exploded. Chapter 1346. Boom! The pitch-black storm suddenly expanded in the entire room, instantly shattering the floor and blowing away one furniture after another. The sudden violent impact startled Noah. After he reacted, he quickly shielded Letitia, who hadn't reacted yet, behind him, blocking the attack. This was no joke. The black wind before them was a power formed by the Black Death virus itself. Furthermore, with the support of Hamel's grimoire, which had been condensed into a ring, the Black Plague Demon King, who had completely transformed into the Black Plague Demon God of Death Spots, was no longer a simple virus. Instead, it was a gift that could bestow death upon individuals, causing them to instantly die. If Letitia were to come into contact with this black wind, she would most likely die instantly. At that moment, Noah stood in front of Letitia and endured all of the incoming black wind. The berserk black wind directly battered Noah's body, causing his clothes to flutter wildly. It even caused Noah to involuntarily raise a hand to block in front of him. It was as if he was standing in the middle of a storm, stabilizing his footing with great difficulty. Under this kind of situation, the girl that appeared from the circular formation seemed to have lost her rationality as she furiously shouted while her body swelled with terrifying black wind. White Yiksha! Come out! Come out! You actually dared to make me, the Demon King, wear so many vulgar and shameless clothes. I definitely won't let you off. Hurry up and come out. Following the girl's enraged roar, the black wind that brought death became even more berserk. Rumble, under the assault of the berserk black wind, the entire shop gradually began to tremble. Against the berserk black wind, Noah did his best to open his eyes. However, when Noah saw the scene in the center of the black wind, he was immediately stunned. He saw that in the center of the berserk black wind, Pest was looking back and forth with a face full of fury, looking for a certain person. At the same time, her fluttering skirt fluttered with her movements. At this very moment, Letitia also had the same skirt. That's right. Just like Letitia. She was known as the Black Death Spot Demon King. She had the merit of leading 80 million undead and possessed the qualifications to become a god. She had transformed into a true Grim Reaper. Almost a month ago, she had brought terror to the entire 4 million outer disciples of the Northern District. The black and white patterned dress she was wearing had long since disappeared. It was replaced by a blue and white maid uniform. That was right. It was a maid's uniform. That was why she was the same as Letitia. What did White Yiksha do to that spotted lowly to make her so angry? In fact, there was no need to guess the reason. Judging from Pest's furious shout, before Noah came to take back this spotty lowly, this lass must have been taken advantage of and bullied by that perverted social class leader. The only thing missing was training her, right? No wonder that White Yiksha ran away so quickly, Letitia said while hiding behind Noah, feeling somewhat vexed and uncomfortable. In short, Master, please first stop the Black Death Spot Demon King from going berserk. Otherwise, if this continues, this shop will be finished. After all, Pest's power was not destruction. Instead, she directly bestowed death upon an individual and forced them to die instantly. Thus, she did not possess much destructive power. However, even if she did not possess any destructive power, just by exploding her power to the limit, the violent wind created would be enough to blow this shop away, right? No matter what, White Yiksha had helped them so much. If they allowed this servant to go berserk, even if there was a reason for it, Noah would still lose all face, right? To Letitia, this was something that she could not tolerate. How can my master be criticized because of such a thing? Letitia shouted loudly. That's why, Master, you should first stop that idiot from going berserk. Hearing this, Noah could not help but want to smile bitterly. However, he endured it, took a deep breath, and shouted loudly. Why are you still not stopping? The ring on Noah's finger flickered with a faint radiance. The storm-like wind of death that was wreaking havoc in the surroundings suddenly stopped. Pest, who was in the center of the black storm, seemed to have been forcibly immobilized. Her entire body froze in place, unable to move in the slightest. Then, the black wind that pervaded the surroundings slowly disappeared. Of course, this was not what Pest wished for. Like Letitia, this former demon king who controlled the Black Death was now completely subordinate to Noah. She had established a subordinate relationship with Noah. This kind of relationship was not merely a verbal one. Instead, it was in the form of a contract. If such a contract was made by someone weaker than the one being controlled, then it would be fine, but if the power of the one being controlled was greater than the one being controlled, then the power of the contract would be brought to the extreme. Simply put, it was equivalent to the absolute control of the heroic spirits from the Holy Grail War in the world of the moon. Thus, under the restriction of the contract, Pest, who had become Noah's subordinate, was unable to disobey Noah's orders. Understanding this, even though Pest was still unable to move, she turned her furious gaze toward Noah. Her eyes were so furious that it seemed as if they were going to shoot out flames. Toward this, Noah heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at Pest with an annoyed expression. Yo, former Lord Demon King, it's truly been a long time. If possible, I do not wish to see you at all. Pest did not conceal the malice in her words at all. When I think of how I will be humiliated like this by you all in the future, and also become your subordinate, there is truly nothing worse than this. First of all, I have to remind you that the ones who play the domineering game as the Demon King are always people like you who don't care about the safety of others. Since that's the case, then you should be mentally prepared that one day you will be suppressed by the box court and become someone else's subordinate. Noah corrected him. Secondly, I've never had the hobby of humiliating captives. Don't confuse me with white yiksha. Bye. Night. F***ck. Extreme anger once again appeared on Pest's delicate and pretty face. Where is that abominable fellow? Tell her to come out. So what if I come out? Noah said bluntly. If he really wants to fight with you, you won't even be able to withstand his pinch. Pest immediately glared furiously at Noah. However, she knew that this was the truth. Not to mention that White Yiksha was one of the top existences in the box court. In terms of sun sovereignty alone, the White Yiksha held 14 of them. Each of them could summon a corresponding star beast. Those were existences capable of rivaling the 3 great strongest races. With Pest's strength, even if she transformed into the Black Deathspot Reaper and became a god, it would still be impossible for her to defeat even one of them. Not to mention 14 of them. Thus, even though it was very cruel, the reality was that it was simply impossible for Pest to do anything to White Yiksha. Not to mention Pest, even Noah did not dare to say that he had a way to deal with White Yiksha. Even though Pest understood this, she did not seem like the type to consider things rationally. Sure enough, you are not a good person either, Pest said in a mocking manner. I've heard that the leader of your community seems to be more suited to use me. Yet, in the end, you still ended up occupying my authority. It would appear that you are indeed a selfish person. Those words caused Noah's eyes to narrow. Undoubtedly, Pest knew that Noah did not know about benevolence's grace at all. Nor did he know about the details of this matter. In the end, Pest still said those words. Clearly, she only wanted to make things difficult for Noah. This caused Letitia to feel somewhat furious. She wanted to step forward but was stopped by Noah. Under Pest's attentive gaze, Noah slowly stepped forward and arrived before Pest. He extended a hand and, to Pest's stunned expression, bent down and lifted her delicate chin, raising her face slightly to face him. There's nothing I can do about it. After all, I said that I would properly make you my toy, Noah said with a smile that was not a smile. Are you prepared to accept it? Because of that, a strong sense of foreboding emerged in Pest's heart. Chapter 1347. The next day, in front of No Name's headquarters, Ren, 16 Knights, Joyu and Osaka, Haruhibu Yaichi and Black Rabbit were all present. They were preparing to head to the Southern District to participate in the Harvest Festival. In addition to the main force members who were preparing to head to the Southern District for the Harvest Festival, the children in the community were all present, led by Lily. It was very clear that they were planning to send off the main force members heading to the Southern District to participate in the Harvest Festival. Ren cast his gaze toward Noah, who was standing at the very front of the group of children. He spoke with a somewhat apologetic yet serious tone. In that case, Noah-san, I'll leave the headquarters to you for the time being. Please, 16 Knights of Reverse said casually without any sincerity. We will return with trophies that will satisfy you. If we're in a good mood, we might even bring you a gift, Joyu and Osaka said with a mischievous smile. That's why, you have to work hard. Same here, Haruhibu Yaichi nodded with the most serious expression as he hugged Sanmao. I'll remember to bring you the specialties of the Southern District. Everyone, we are preparing to participate in the Harvest Festival's bestowment game, not to go sightseeing. Black Rabbit's long rabbit ears drooped down as he spoke in an extremely helpless manner. Why can't everyone be a bit more nervous? Well, isn't it good to have confidence? Noah curled his lips. Since you're so confident, I hope that you'll truly be able to show me the trophies you'll bring back that will leave me speechless. Please look forward to it, little brother. The corners of 16 Nights Reversal's mouth curled up slightly as he looked behind Noah with a meaningful gaze. Besides, even if you're going to stay behind, I believe that little bro will definitely not be bored, right? Hearing 16 Nights' words, Joyu and Osaka, Haruhibu Yaichi, Black Rabbit and Ren's expressions immediately became strange. They all cast their gazes behind Noah. There, Pest appeared to be dispirited and extremely tired. She stood there as if she was feeling extremely humiliated and had given up on herself. Upon closer inspection, Pest was not wearing her iconic floral pattern dress, nor was she wearing the black and white maid uniform she wore yesterday. Instead, she was wearing a set of apparel that made one unable to look at her directly. It was a tight-fitting outfit made of soft fur. Although it was called a bodysuit, in fact, the style of the bodysuit was no different from a swimsuit. Not only did it expose the shoulders, abdomen, and thighs, but it also almost exposed the entire white back. As for the color, it was the color of brown. Furthermore, it had a pair of dog ears on its head. Its hands and feet were also equipped with dog gloves and gauntlets. There was also a furry tail hanging from its back. That figure was simply a typical example of a doting mother dog. What's more, there was a leather collar around the neck of such a lovable dog. There was a rope tied to the collar, and Letitia was holding it firmly in her hand. This scene made 16 Nights' eyes light up. He patted Noah's shoulder happily. Not bad. Little brother, you've also finally awakened. Don't speak as if I have some sort of terrible potential, all right? Noah swatted away 16 Nights' enthusiastic hand and said with a fake smile. It's just that my maid doesn't seem to be very obedient. Thus, I must properly educate her and have White Yiksha provide me with some assistance. Noah's words caused Pest, who was dressed like a dog, to shiver all over. As if she had recalled some sort of nightmare, she muttered with a face full of humiliation and fear. Demon. Demon. All of you are demons, even the heavens would pity her. Until yesterday, Pest was still incomparably domineering and filled with killing intent. She had the appearance of wanting to chop Noah and White Yiksha into pieces. Yet, today, she had become like this. One could very well imagine what sort of devastation Noah and White Yiksha had inflicted on Pest in the short span of a day. Looking at Letitia's joyful appearance as she held onto the leash, it was clear that this vampire maid had also hit Pest while he was down. She was having a lot of fun. Although the pitiful Pest appeared to be extremely cruel and calm, and was still a former demon king, in reality, before she became an undead, this girl was merely a 12-year-old child. Noah, White Yiksha, and Letitia did not have the slightest bit of guilt when they ravaged the flowers of their motherland. Ren could not bear to look straight at them. As for Jiu Fei Niao and Haruai Buyao, they looked at each other. As if they had made some sort of decision, they nodded heavily. I didn't expect that a dog's outfit could be so cute. The South District's Harvest Festival seems to be going on for nearly a month. I wonder if I can buy a rabbit girl outfit during the festival. At this moment, a chill ran down Black Rabbit's spine, causing this rabbit to almost jump up and speak with a panicked expression. Who do you two plan to buy the rabbit girl outfit for? Jiu Fei Niao and Haruai Buyao looked at Black Rabbit at the same time. They did not say anything and only gave Black Rabbit an incomparably brilliant smile. This smile caused Black Rabbit to finally be unable to hold back and cry out noisily. You! What do you plan to do? This group of idiot adults. Good. 16 Nights clapped his hands and looked at Jiu Fei Niao and Haruai Buyao with a serious expression. Let me participate as well. Welcome, welcome. Jiu Fei Niao and Haruai Buyao nodded enthusiastically. Stop right there. You big idiot adults. Black Rabbit could not bear it anymore and took out a paper fan used to ridicule, randomly fanning the three problem children. The three problem children dodged Black Rabbit's paper fan attack while laughing loudly. It was as if they were deliberately teasing Black Rabbit as they ran into the distance. Black Rabbit was so angry that he trembled and shouted as he chased after them. "Wait! Wait for me!" Ren was dumbstruck as he looked at his four companions who were running further and further away. When he finally reacted, he ran forward in a panic. He still remembered that during the last fire dragon birth ceremony, Ren was abandoned by the crowd halfway through the ceremony. This time, Ren did not want to be left behind again. At that moment, Ren hurriedly chased after him while turning his head and shouting at Noah. "Then, Mr. Noah, we'll be leaving now." After saying that, the group of people ran away without leaving a trace. Seeing this, Noah smiled helplessly. "This group of people, we haven't even arrived at the location of the ceremony and they're already causing such a ruckus. I really don't know what will happen during the ceremony. Isn't it good?" Letitia held the dog leash and said with a gentle expression. "No matter if it's Ren or Black Rabbit, in order to support this community, they've suffered a lot. It's quite rare to be able to laugh and talk like this. Don't say it like you don't have a part in it." Noah knocked on Letitia's head. "Why do you say it like an old person?" "Oh, this is truly rude of me, Master." Letitia held her head that was knocked on and said in a slightly awkward manner. "Although I have this appearance now, I was once a pure-blooded vampire that wreaked havoc in the Box Court as the Demon King. Furthermore, I was also a founding member of this community. No matter what, I should still be able to express my feelings toward the lives of the younger generation, right? I was once a Demon King too." Pest was unable to refrain herself from interrupting. "Why have I never seen you all respect me before? You said it yourself. That was in the past." Letitia pulled on the leash in her hand and said. "Now, before you became a Demon King, you were still Master's servant. Before you have a sufficient understanding of your current identity, as your senior, I have many things that I need to properly teach you." After saying those words, a joyous smile appeared on Letitia's young and delicate face. This caused Pest's face to turn green. Seeing Pest's appearance as if she was facing a great enemy, Noah was unable to refrain himself from having the urge to bully this little girl. Thus, just like yesterday, Noah bent down and lifted Pest's chin to face him. He revealed a mischievous expression. "Rest assured, I will treat you well, my adorable toy." Pest immediately started shivering. Tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. After a long while, the sorrowful cry of the spotted lowly resounded through the sky above the base. "I never want to wear those shameful and vulgar clothes again." Chapter 1348. In the dark night, the gentle moonlight slowly sprinkled down from the sky like a layer of hazy gauze, enveloping the entire earth. The night sky of the Box Court was indeed very beautiful. The stars were like decorations in the dark night sky. While they flickered, they became a small part of the stars, forming a beautiful scene that seemed to be pierced through by various galaxies. Such a scene could only appear in the Box Court. Because only in this box where even the ownership of the stars, the so-called sovereignty, was occupied by various asuras, gods, and Buddhas, would these stars naturally shine brightly in the sky. Of course, if the Asura gods and Buddhas who held the sovereignty of these stars did not wish for the stars to be seen by the entire Box Court, then they could make them descend from the sky at any time. Although it sounded very inconceivable, the so-called sovereignty was such a thing. Not only could the holder summon the corresponding star spirits and star beasts of those stars, even gods and giant dragons, but they could also control their trajectories and make the stars move according to their will. Of course, these stars that decorated the bustling starry sky were only secondary. If the sovereignty of the sun was completely held by one person, then that person could also change the trajectory of the sun according to their will. Unfortunately, even the star spirit of the sun, White Yiksha, who was once a two-digit demon king, only held the sovereignty of 14 sons, let alone other people. If one wanted to hold the sovereignty of all 24 sons, including the Ophiuchus constellation that was awarded to Letitia as a reward for the merits of the box court knight, there was a total of 25 sons. The difficulty was almost equal to impossible. Under such circumstances, at the edge of a cliff that was covered by moonlight, a youth looked up at the stars in the sky and muttered, "I wonder, including the sun, how would it feel to hold the sovereignty of all the stars in one's hands?" The young man who said such wishful thinking was probably only 11 or 12 years old, right? The young man was wearing what seemed to be a long robe of the same color on top of a pure white training suit. The color of the youth's hair was a deeper white than the pure white clothes. In addition, the youth also had a pair of golden eyes that emitted light. That attitude actually made the young man look more mature. However, compared to that mature feeling, the youth's words made people think of words like, "Children's words carry no harm." Why don't we take the sovereignty of all the stars, including the sun, as our goal? In the next second, this sentence was immediately greeted by a clear voice filled with helplessness. "Your Highness, it's good that you have such ambition, but even I have to say that it's simply impossible to achieve it, isn't it?" As soon as he finished speaking, a petite figure suddenly appeared behind the young man who was addressed as His Highness. It was a young girl with waist-length black hair. The young girl's age was about the same as the young man who was addressed as His Highness. She wore a sleeveless black dress with a jacket tied around her waist. Outside the jacket, there was a belt around her waist. There were several short knives hanging from the belt. Of course, compared to the weapons that were originally bestowed in various myths and legends, the quality of these short knives was terrifyingly low. They were only ordinary short knives. However, just by carrying a few ordinary short knives, the young girl gave people a feeling that she was not to be underestimated. It was believed that if anyone looked down on the young girl because of her lovable appearance and ordinary weapons, they would definitely die miserably. The young girl said helplessly as she approached the young man who was addressed as His Highness, "Your Highness, please don't forget that you only have the most important sovereignty of the sun. If you want to obtain all 25 of them, it's already difficult to make people dizzy, let alone the sovereignty of all the other stars. Is it Ling?" His Highness did not seem to be surprised by the young girl's sudden arrival at all. He did not even turn his head as he spoke. "I know it's difficult, but it's because it's more difficult that it's easier for people to feel a sense of accomplishment when they complete it, isn't that right?" "That's not wrong, but there should be a limit, right?" The young girl named Ling pouted. "Although I know that Your Highness is very amazing, there are also many amazing people in the box court. So many Asuras, gods, and Buddhas, but none of them can achieve such a great feat even if it's Your Highness. I think it's impossible." "I know, that's why I'm just saying it casually. Obtaining the sovereignty of the sun is already troublesome enough for me, but now there's only one. If I want to obtain the sovereignty of all the stars in the sky, then no matter what, I won't do such an impossible thing." His Highness shook his head with a smile. "It's just that, since I don't have anything in particular that I want to do, I might as well make this a goal. That's why I said that." "Don't have anything in particular that you want to do?" Ling was silent for a moment before suddenly speaking. "But, Your Highness, right now, we have something that we must do." "I know," His Highness said with a calm expression. "Is everything ready?" "Basically, everything is ready," Ling said. "Then, Your Highness, is it time to carry out the attack plan in the Southern District?" "The Southern District?" His Highness narrowed his eyes and abruptly asked this question. "This time, we should be preparing to attack the Eastern, Southern, and Northern districts at the same time, right?" Chapter 1349. Early in the morning, Noah was leisurely drinking tea in the meeting room of No Name's headquarters. Pest, who was wearing a blue and white maid uniform, had an emotionless expression on her face as she mechanically placed the black tea on the tray in her hand before Noah. "Master, please have some tea." After 2 days of flirting, teaching, Pest finally submitted to Noah in a sullen manner. She obediently addressed Noah as her master and was entrusted by Letitia to serve Noah. If one were to say that she was unwilling, then that was not the case at all. Although she still held on to her pride as a former demon king, Pest was not someone who was unable to accept the fact that she had to serve someone else. After all, before she was infected by the Black Death and died from the corrosion of the Black Death, Pest was merely an ordinary child. No, it would be more accurate to say that the term ordinary child was not quite right for Pest to be used on her. That was because Pest did not lead a very good life when she was alive. Because of that, Pest did not have any objections toward the matter of work. Otherwise, Pest would likely have to stubbornly resist for another 1 or 2 days. Because of that, Pest did not feel any reluctance toward the matter of who she was supposed to serve tea for. If there was anything that she was unwilling about, it would be the fact that the person who was supposed to enjoy the tea Pest had brewed for the first time was Noah. Of course, Pest would definitely not mention this matter to anyone. Otherwise, the miserable experience from 2 days ago and yesterday would definitely befall Pest again. When she recalled the terrifying experience of being repeatedly put on all kinds of unsightly clothes like an irresistible rag doll and being groped all over by a pervert like White Yiksha, Pest's expression became incomparably stiff. Noah didn't notice this, or rather, he noticed it but didn't say anything. He nodded his head indifferently. As he looked out the window, he reached out his hand and picked up the teacup. However, he didn't drink it. He just looked outside absent-mindedly. No one knew what he was thinking. Letitia, who was standing behind Noah with Pest on his left and right, tilted her head and asked, "Master, what are you thinking about?" Noah didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took a sip of black tea. After pondering for a while, he spat out some uncertain words. "Do you guys feel that the atmosphere around you seems to be a bit off recently?" "Atmosphere?" Letitia was a little startled. "Atmosphere?" Pest also furrowed her brows. The two girls, who had once been demon kings and had struck fear into the hearts of all the residents in the courtyard, couldn't help but look at each other. Then, Letitia confirmed it. "Master, we don't quite understand what you mean," Letitia said softly. "What exactly is wrong? Can you be specific?" Noah's brows furrowed tightly. After hesitating for a while, he sighed and said directly, "For example, do you guys feel that something big might be happening soon?" "Something big?" Letitia and Pest were both startled. However, this was the reason why Noah had an indifferent look on his face. For some unknown reason, after Letitia, Pest, and Aster helped him get up in the morning, Noah felt a little uneasy. Yes. There was no reason for him to feel uneasy. This wasn't the first time Noah encountered such a situation. Every time something big was about to happen, Noah's sharp intuition would remind him like a sixth sense, causing Noah to feel uneasy. For example, during the battle on Celestial Wolf Island, before he encountered the black dragon recorded in Revelation, Noah also felt uneasy for no reason. Now, Noah had this feeling again. This caused Noah to be on guard. It couldn't be helped. As it turned out, Noah's intuition was indeed very sharp. This was especially true when something big was about to happen. It was like a warning, causing Noah's mind to be unable to calm down. Letitia and Pest, who didn't know about this, could only look at each other in dismay. "I say," Pest couldn't help but mock Letitia. "Could it be that you're being overly sensitive?" Seeing Pest's impudent appearance, Letitia immediately cast a sharp gaze at her. This caused Pest's expression to stiffen again. She tightly shut her mouth. If one were to say who Pest was most afraid of, then it would undoubtedly be Letitia. That was because only by establishing a subordinate contract with Pest would Noah, as Pest's master, be able to make Pest unable to resist. Noah would be able to toy with her like a toy. Every time Noah wanted to properly dampen Pest's spirit, it would always be Letitia who carried out his orders. Thus, in the past 2 days, Pest had been tormented by Letitia quite a bit. She was even afraid of being tormented by Letitia. In terms of strength, Pest was, without a doubt, in the lead. Furthermore, she was more than a step ahead. After being modified and condensed by Thousand Eyes, Hamel's magic book that took the form of a ring did not change its effect on Pest. However, its form had changed. Before this, if Pest wanted to transform into the Black Death Spot Reaper and become a god, she would have to activate the power of Hamel's magic book. However, after being modified and condensed by Thousand Eyes, Hamel's magic book was no longer activated by Pest. Instead, it would be worn by Noah, Pest's master. In other words, when Noah wore the ring, Hamel's magic book would activate and allow Pest to transform into a god. On the other hand, once Noah removed the ring, not only would Pest be unable to maintain her physical body, she would also return to the ring. The effect of Hamel's magic book would also disappear. Pest would return to her original form and become a pure, undead spirit. Chapter 1350. When Noah, who had transformed into a stream of light and shot towards the sky, arrived at the sky above the outer gate of 2105-380, the scene that appeared in front of him made Noah somewhat surprised. Roar, 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 roar. Fierce roars still resounded throughout the entire sky. And the ones who roared like that were the aberrations. They had bodies like white snakes and limbs like lizards. Their heads were the kind that looked like they had been longing for food for a long time, dripping saliva, and had a ferocious appearance like a dragon or tiger. Furthermore, almost every xenomorph had 2 of these heads. Two-headed dragon. If he had to use a word to describe it, this was the only word Noah could think of. This 2-headed xenomorph was like a swarm of ants as it swarmed over from one end of the horizon. At the same time, it let out a series of earth-shattering roars, causing the ground to tremble and the atmosphere to become chaotic. Even space itself seemed to be slightly distorted. It was extremely terrifying. Of course, if it was only their ferocious appearance, then to Noah, those 2-headed dragons were no different from real ants. Not to mention a threat, they were simply decorations. However, the terrifying aura carried by the 2-headed dragons told Noah that the 2-headed dragons were extremely powerful. It was definitely not just their ferocious appearance. Based on initial estimates, each of those 2-headed dragons had at least 5 digits worth of strength. Furthermore, Noah even sensed an aura that was not at all inferior to that of Arkle, who was under Lu's control, and Pest, who had transformed into a deity, from the group of twin-headed dragons swarming over like ants. Such a group of 2-headed dragons was as dense as ants as they swarmed in the direction of the outer gate of 2105-380. This scene made Noah's expression sink bit by bit. Even Noah was like this, let alone White Yiksha, who was the ruler of the East District. Damn it! Without any warning, White Yiksha's figure suddenly flashed beside Noah. Looking at the 2-headed dragon swarming over from the end of the horizon, a shocked and angry expression appeared on his face. Why would all the clones of the absolute evil demon king appear here? Absolute evil. Noah's body trembled as he looked at White Yiksha in astonishment. You're saying that those 2-headed dragons are split bodies of absolute evil? The fire-worship sex demonic dragon, Azidakaha. Az-Dakar. It was the demonic dragon recorded in the ancient Persian Empire, which was known as the Sect of Fire. This demonic dragon was called Absolute Evil by the people in the Box Court. This was because it was a trial that existed to destroy the human race. Humanity's final trial. Noah softly muttered. With the title of God Slayer, an existence above the three strongest races of Hakata. That was right.